call this meeting to order. We'll begin with the moment of silence, then the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Next on the agenda will be public comment. The Commission requests that comments be limited to a maximum of 5 minutes for each person. And is it Timothy Gannon?
Yes. I'm here for
Okay. Timothy, please come to the podium and state your name and address for the record.
I'm sorry. Yeah, okay, I'm sorry.
Oh, he's at the public hearing.
He's the gentleman that owns the property at 2.
He'll be
Okay.
part of the agenda.
No, that's very good.
Thank you.
Nobody else signed up, so next item.
Sir, I guess this is the sign-up sheet.
All right,
You have a comment.
Mr. Cook.
I attended the meeting.
All right, your name and address, please.
Okay. My name is William Cook. I live at 321 Redbud Drive in Junction City. I attended the City Commission meeting on the 20th of January and presented an issue about the sewer backups in the city, and specifically in one and related to the property of Selena Vincent. And I've been helping her both in the cleanup of her property and in trying to get some assistance regarding the damages that she had to her property. We have submitted an insurance claim to the city, submitted it this afternoon. And in the process, we asked for some open records from the city. We got those records, and after examining them, we believe that there is facts that would demonstrate that the city, in fact, caused that sewer backup. I have met twice with the city manager, and unfortunately, I do not feel that a meaningful investigation was conducted of that. After reviewing the open records that we obtained and having a discussion with a city employee who basically said that there is a procedure that they use. It's what he referred to as a measure of last resort, but there's a procedure that they use and did use in that area that potentially would cause the backup into a person's home. And we think that's what occurred here. I am here tonight to request two things of the City Commission. I do not feel that city management has conducted a meaningful investigation of the incident, as evidenced by the responses that I received from them. And they're insistent that this is that the city is not responsible, and they're obviously not willing to really look any deeper than the report that they got from the unclogging of the sewer on the 5th of January. Of the records that I received, there are several things in it that would indicate that there is a problem in that area. For one, the city truck that goes out to unclog the backups has been in that area at least 7 times in the past month. I've lived in this town for 30 years, 3 different residences scattered across the town, and I've never seen the blue truck in my area. But it's been up there 7 times, of which I have seen it personally 4 times. So I think that tells me that there is a problem in that area up there as far as clogs are concerned. And I do believe that a part of the problem stems from the failure to treat the root systems that grow up in the sewers adequately. In the last meeting, it was said by the city management that every 3 years, well, the records indicate that area has not been treated in 3 years, at least what I was providing. As I said, I come to ask for 2 things. One, that the commission investigate the matter, because I don't think city management has done a meaningful one. And number two is that whatever the appropriate document is, but I would ask that the commission issue an appropriate directive to the city staff that requires the staff to inform city residents anytime city personnel have used procedures to unclog or remove obstruction from the city sewer that could potentially cause backups into a residence. It has occurred. A city employee that actually operates that big blue truck informed me that they have a measure of last resort, which in essence floods the sewer. And I have a letter from a respected local plumber. In fact, he's been a member of this august body at one point in time, in which he describes, and I have a copy for each of the commissioners, a copy of his letter that describes how this occurs. And that's our request, that one, the city commission investigate the incident, and number two, that city residents be informed when they use such a measure, because as it appears now, no one tells a resident that they've employed this. And by the city employees, and he volunteered it to me. I just happened to hear the noise of the truck operating out there, and I was at the residence helping her clean up, and I went out to see what the noise was, and there they were directly across the street from her house. And I waited until they were finished with their procedure they were doing, and I explained that there was concern about another backup and what was going on, basically. And he informs me that there is a process or a procedure that they use that in essence ends up flooding the sewer system. So that to me falls under that category that I was told about the last time, that it's not the city's fault unless a city employee is the one that caused it. Well, and to me, this is city employees causing it if they employ that procedure, and I do believe it was used in that area. I have a handout I'd like to give to each of the commissioners, if that's okay at this time, and then I'm done.
Yep. We won't act on this right now.
Oh, I understand. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. We'll get into it later.
Yeah, we'll have to follow up later.
We received documentation today,
Claim was filed today.
and in normal cases like this, Commission and residents, is, we allow the insurance company to do the investigation, and I think it really helps in this case to allow the insurance company to do the complete investigation rather than have any bias from staff or anything else. And I think that's always been the policy I've tried to follow, and one that's probably been followed here in the past as well. And I have visited with department heads about what Mr. Cook and I had talked about, and at least department heads did not tell me about a last resort thing, but, possibly we're, I think we just got a part of town that we have to address in some manner, also take a look at with more of an intensive program. But as far as this situation, like I said, it'll be up to the insurance adjuster now to at least give a determination to the city. And I think it's always wise is that, they're the ones that are supplying the city with liability coverage, and allow them to do the investigation. And like as I told Mr. Cook and Mrs. Vincent, they treat that just like if somebody ran into your car, there's an investigation by insurance companies just as well.
Right.
So,
Has there been any sewer backups in that area since that one time that it flooded? I don't have specific dates, but I do know that that is one of many areas in the city that we've had an ongoing problem. The issue that we typically have found in that area is we get root intrusion that comes in from the laterals, and it goes into the public sewer, and those roots are basically hanging in the flow line of the city sewer. And so that's what, and we've got it on a routine cleaning schedule. I don't know this one specific, but I can surely get you as far as what that is. I do know it is one of many. We have some that we clean weekly. We have ones that we clean every other week, monthly, every 6 months, and what have you, throughout the community. In this case, what's occurring in that particular reach of sewer is, like I said, we get root intrusion not so much from the city line, but it comes in from the laterals, and the laterals, the roots basically follow the path of where they can find the water and the food, and they're basically then dropping those roots, basically drop from the lateral down into the public sewer, and that's what's causing the disruption. What we have done is we routinely have gone in there and sewer jetted us, cleaned as far as those roots out, as far as on a consistent cleaning schedule. And for this particular area, I do not have when, how often that is, whether it's weekly or biweekly, but I do know we've got a number of areas throughout the community that we are presently maintaining.
Have you the equipment to take a camera?
Yes.
Take
yes,
video?
Yes, and that's how we know what is taking place with the root intrusion. It's not misalignment of the joints on the public sewer. It's root intrusion coming in from the different laterals at the different angles. We actually, in this reach, I believe as far as I actually even saw, as far as where you got a lateral coming in from the top, and some communities require that that's where they come in, but these are old vitrified clay pipes, and there's a lot of tree growth around there, and that's what we're getting. So we're routinely cleaning out that the root intrusions that are coming in from the various laterals up and down that reach of sewer.
The laterals to each individual residence.
Right. So
The great majority of those issues come from the main tap at the lateral.
correct.
When you take a picture, you'll see root intrusion right at the main tap.
Right. What we call it is, we call it a horsetail, because it basically blooms out like that. The roots will come in, and then once they get into an area where there's water and there's nutrients, they just basically explode like a horsetail, and they will just clog up as far as that 8-inch sewer, so that you get limited flow down through there. And we do have it on a routine cleaning schedule amongst many other areas.
Which I'll remind you that roots and root infiltration into the system is not the city's liability. All we have to do is show that once in a 5-year period that we have either jetted or root cleaned or done some kind of maintenance on the line. If we were out in that area even just once, then the city's not liable.
But that will not be determined by us.
No, that's the insurance company to determine that. And we provide them all the information from the person that's filing the claim, as well as all the information in which shows what we have done in that area. And then they make the final legal determination of whether or not it's a claim that's due by the city or not.
Well, thanks for the reminder. However, I guess the initial question was, has this occurred, has this backed up into this location since, I guess it's been about 4 weeks ago? Do you know that?
No, I don't. I do know that we have gone out in that location, not at that address specific, but we've gone out on that reach many times before, and it is a part of our maintenance schedule within the sanitary group.
So as far as you know, it hasn't backed up again since?
Not that I'm
point in
aware
time.
of.
Okay.
Not that I'm aware of.
I have records that they provided me that shows that they have sent the truck out there for backups 7 times. 4 of which...
Mr. Cook, can we let the insurance company look at that? We're not going to hold court on it and make a decision tonight.
But you asked him to respond, and he's giving you information that is not accurate from city records.
The insurance company will go over all of that.
And we have specifically requested in our claim that we be allowed to talk to the insurance representative that comes out to investigate. Now, does that happen?
They will. They will call them. I don't think they'll come out, but they will call them.
Okay.
Next on the agenda will be the consent agenda.
I had a question on item C, the Freeman Field farm lease. Has that, I saw the pen and ink change. Has the original been completed, the lease agreement, lease amendment?
Shatner was
I
responding.
worked on that with Katie. Katie reviewed it. There were some requested deletions. There was no issue on the city side, and so
Oh,
those changes were made.
Yeah, I didn't approve, I don't think I approved all of them, but I approved some of them and sent them back to you.
Okay, yeah, and then the final version is included in the packet after the marked copy.
Okay.
It's in this packet here.
Here it is.
Okay,
I have it on page 44, but
right.
The one with the pen and ink changes.
no, the
The final
the
version.
hard
Okay.
copy.
Marked copy that the
Right,
lessee had requested, and then following that is the
Page 44.
final version.
Page 44, yeah.
34 through 49.
okay.
There was an item in there regarding oil rights and things like that that were unnecessary, and so those removed and
Right.
things like that.
Okay.
I didn't see anything that
Yeah,
farm boy.
yeah, I don't know, this lease this form got generated several years ago.
Yeah, it was regarding the NutriDirect item that occurred quite a while ago, and
Yeah.
it's been reused since, and so...
Yeah. And some of the provisions that they were objecting to don't really apply to this particular piece of property, so,
So it was cleaned up and
Comfortable,
entered, okay.
yeah.
Move to approve the consent agenda as described.
Second?
We have a motion and a second for approval. Is there any further discussion?
None here.
All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. The ayes have it, 5-0. Next on the agenda will be special presentations. Chief Royce, you have 2 new firefighters. Brian Helstab and
Andrew Brink.
Andrew Brinkman.
Mr. Mayor, Commissioners, good evening. This evening, I'd like to introduce you to our newest members of the Junction City Fire Department, firefighter EMT Brian Helstab and firefighter EMT Andrew Brinkman. These 2 gentlemen recently completed their 90-day probationary training period under the close direction of our field training officers, Josh Allen and Matt McAllister. During this period, both firefighters learned valuable firefighting skills as well as emergency medical skills, and at this time, Brian and Andrew will trade their probationary helmets in for Junction City Fire Department helmets. Mr. Mayor, if you'd care to join me.
Certainly.
First off, Andrew and Brian, I'd like to present you these certificates. Training. Andrew, your helmet.
Yeah.
Brian, your helmet. Brian and Andrew, congratulations and welcome to the Junction City Fire Department.
Is it our expectation that those helmets will stay clean?
And unscratched.
Good job, guys.
Next will be Flint Hills Regional Council, Daniel update. Gary?
Good evening. I'm Gary Stith, the Director of the Flint Hills Regional Council. I'm pleased to be able to come before you and give you an update on the activities of the Flint Hills Regional Council. The Regional Council has been funded through HUD grant for the last 2.5 years. That grant will be running out at the June 1, and it's currently funding our activities in terms of a fair housing study that's required under the grant requirements that identify housing needs in the 7-county region that the Flint Hills Regional Council covers. We also manage the MPO, the Metropolitan Planning Organization for the Flint Hills region, which Junction City is a part of. We're working now on the first regional multimodal transportation plan. We've developed a traffic demand model which can be used to identify areas of traffic congestion based on future land uses from the Junction City-Gary County comprehensive plan, which is in draft form. And we've taken the data about future land uses and have applied that to the model to find what kinds of impacts that's going to have in terms of traffic demands and traffic issues in the future. This model then can be used to test different projects that can be proposed, and we have worked with your staff and the staff of the other jurisdictions in the MPO to identify future projects that would deal with future needs for transportation in our region, and are going through the process of modeling those projects to see which ones are effective in terms of improving transportation traffic flow throughout the region based on these future land uses. We've also put together the Flint Hills Regional Transit Administration, which again Junction City is a part of through an interlocal agreement with 5 jurisdictions and Kansas State University. That organization has been, or interlocal agreement has been designated by the Federal Transit Administration to be the recipient of urban area funds through FTA for the Manhattan urbanized area. But rather than it just being focused on Manhattan, again, we're taking a regional approach for the use of those funds. Funds can be used for any transit route that is either within the urbanized area of Manhattan or that begins or ends in the urbanized area of Manhattan. So the route that begins here in Junction City, passes through Fort Riley, and goes on into Manhattan, in the future can be funded through these urban funds. The urban funds are annually allocated by FTA. We don't have to compete for those funds. The amount that's been allocated each year for the last 3 years is a little over $900,000, which is about $400,000 more than what ATA has been able to get through the rural program that it's been funded under before. Of course, you have to have match for those funds, but the significance of this is that it does have a pool of resources that are available and are designated specifically for this area, and can be used to expand the transit services that can be provided in the region. Another example might be that recently they've started a route between Manhattan and Wamego, and again, that could be funded through this same source of funds. In setting up this organization, we've recently hired a transit administrator and mobility manager. This position will be funded 50% by FTA funds and 50% by KDOT funds for the mobility manager part. The good thing about that is the KDOT funds can actually be used as the match for the FTA funds, and so there's no local funds that will have to be put into funding this particular position. This person then will help the FRTA, or the Flint Hills Regional Transit Administration, to use the funds for expanding our services and transit services in the future. The Flint Hills Regional Transit Administration won't provide any transit services directly, but will contract out for those services to be provided by a transit provider. We've also submitted to EDA, the Economic Development Administration of the federal government, our comprehensive economic development strategy. We've actually done that some time ago. EDA is not one of the more responsive federal agencies, but nonetheless, we're looking forward to their review of that comprehensive economic development strategy. And once they've done that and approved it, then the Flint Hills Economic Development District can be designated by EDA, and that'll open up a source of funding that we can apply for through EDA that we've not had access to in the past. That Flint Hills Economic Development District covers the 7 counties that the Flint Hills Regional Council covers. We've also recently been starting to work on providing contract services to communities, particularly some of the smaller communities that may not have the staff capacity. We worked with the city of Waterville, which is not actually a member of the regional council, but just outside of the regional council area, and they reached out to us to provide them some assistance in applying for a historic preservation grant. And this last week, they were awarded that grant of $90,000 to help make improvements to their opera house in their community, and is one of 15 awards out of 47 applications that went to the state. So we're real pleased that we were able to assist them in getting that funding. We'll also then administer the grant for them over the next few months and doing the work on the opera house. You're going to be considering tonight an MOU, which we've asked member communities to consider. This MOU establishes the relationship between the Flint Hills Regional Council and local jurisdictions in terms of providing assistance to them through contractual services. And we look forward to being able to provide Junction City and any other community that reaches out and needs our assistance, the kind of technical assistance that we can provide. I'd be glad to answer any questions if you have any.
I think Gary's very valuable to the Flint Hills Regional Council, just the fact that he can understand and trace the pattern from Washington to the state.
Exactly.
He does a very good job of
Thank you.
putting it all together for us.
Thank you.
Is Waterville eligible to be part of the Flint Hills region?
Yes, any community that wants to join the Flint Hills Regional Council can join, and we have reached out to them to see if they're interested in doing that. They're not in one of the 7 counties, but Clay Center, for example, is a member, and Clay County is not a part of our region. But any community that wants to participate is quite welcome to join and be a participant in the Flint Hills Regional Council.
Thank you, Gary.
Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Next item will be a public hearing to consider condemnation of property at 201 East 14th Street and approval of Resolution 2777. Mart?
Mayor, Commissioners, we're here to, as you said, consider condemnation, public hearing. There is a representative of the property here tonight. Tim Gannon is here to let the Commission know what his intentions are for the property. Tim, could you come on up, please?
Mayor, did you open the public hearing?
No. Let's open the public hearing.
Thank you.
Timothy Gannon, 529 West 5th Street. My mother actually owns the property, and we actually want to sell the property as soon as possible. It's kind of been a burden to me and my family. It's been a while. Since my dad died, nobody's worked on the house. It's been quite a while. So, yeah, we just want to try to sell it for rehab or future development. You guys have any questions?
What is your plans immediately for?
As far as plans, like I said, my mom, she's on a fixed budget, so I don't think we're going to be able to do anything. That's kind of why I'm here to say we want to sell it, because if you guys go ahead with the condemnation and she's billed with the demolition of the house, she can't pay it.
They're always assessed against the property if you can, but that's how they are assessed, is back to the property, Tim.
Okay. So
If we go that route and end up going to condemnation, the final result is that it is billed to the property against the property taxes.
okay,
So that's if nothing's done and we go forward.
okay. Our plan is to sell as soon as possible. So
Have you looked at listing it already, or that's just a plan you're going to do?
yes.
Okay. With house, without house? With the house on it? Is the house
with
salvageable?
The house, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, because we're with her fixed budget, and I know me and my brothers can't afford to tear it down. And
Okay.
It is a nice large corner lot.
it's 2 lots.
Is it 2?
I'm sure it's 2 lots. So
It is a rather large lot, so.
Have we done the evaluation on the structure?
Yes, always do before we get here,
Okay,
Commissioner Sands.
because we didn't get it this time. I didn't,
It's, I have it.
okay. I was just wondering if the structure's in pretty good shape, will it sell?
It-
I mean, from your point
It's
of
hard to
view.
describe everything from just the pictures.
Yes.
But if you know, there's the whole porch and underneath the soffit is clear through. Does it have a crawl space or does it have an actual basement?
it's a basement.
On the west side, you can tell water's been
Hmm.
going in on that. I didn't have access to it.
Okay.
So I wasn't in it, but the electrical service is not no current water.
No, there is electricity, but no,
I thought it was red tag.
we're paying the bill.
Okay.
Didn't look like there
There's
was any meters.
windows, I mean, they've boarded some windows up and when you have homes that are sitting empty, sometimes things happen to them that wouldn't happen to them, if they were occupied, so.
That's true.
Like I
But-
said, it hasn't been occupied since my mom moved out soon after my dad died, and she just has trouble getting rid of it. She's kind of attached to it, so.
It will need some work to get it back.
And
up
if it
to
doesn't sell, then
livable.
what? I mean, what's our time frame for allowing someone
120
to
days
sell?
by state law.
Okay.
And then we'll have to move forward if nothing's done and solicit bids and move forward, so.
Okay.
Is there 4 apartments there?
To me,
It used to
would appear
be,
that
but
way.
it's a one-family residence.
I saw 4 meters on there, wasn't sure.
Yeah.
How long has it been since someone actually lived in it? Do you know?
7 or 8 years.
Okay. There's lots of windows and doors. There's approximately 5 to 7 windows and 1 door boarded up. I mean, it does appear to be a square home, but it would need some work, definitely.
It needs a lot more than my mom or my family can put into it. So, we're looking to sell it as soon as possible. I mean, we don't want to give it away, but we're not going to ask a lot of money for it.
Do you have a price?
10,000.
You're getting some free
10,000, I think,
advertisements
is what
right
my
here,
brothers
so
and sisters, yeah, so,
10,000
yeah.
for that structure.
Guarantee it's appraised at more than that,
Yeah.
so.
Well,
So that would be a good project for someone to take on rehab. Intent.
honestly, my family and I just want to get rid of it. It's been a
Understood.
burden.
Thank you, Mr. Gannon.
So, needs roof, siding, windows,
Roof,
who
yeah.
knows what
definitely.
inside,
Yeah.
Come out of public hearing.
Got a few holes in the
porches need to be
exterior
redone,
siding. Probably most of the windows.
floor in the porch is shot.
42.9.
That's what it's assessed at.
36.7 for the property or for the building structure, and then the rest is land.
Mr. Mayor, I have nothing else.
Staff's recommendation, because of the situation we're in, would be to allow them the 120 days, and if they can't do anything with it, then we'll have to move forward.
You understand what we're talking about,
I
Tim?
understand. We've been in contact, and he's told me.
Yeah,
That's my cell phone number now, so.
yeah. I didn't want you to have any surprises.
No, it's not.
Yeah, but at the price you're talking, and what it's appraised at, you might be able to get it moved quick enough to where we don't have to deal with it.
Okay.
I do have a question, though, and I'm familiar myself with Junction City policies, and Katie, you probably help me here. If this resolution is passed tonight, the clock starts, and regardless if it sells, the clock still runs.
Right.
Right.
Everybody understand, yeah.
But-
That's right.
Then I think if someone's to buy that, then they should contact Mr. Carmen,
Okay,
and before the end of time, then they can come back and present their plan.
okay, great.
They're gonna
But
do.
I wouldn't bring it to you unless they had a plan
Right.
before I came to you.
Okay, great. Just trying to get procedures.
I would inform them of that, so we would be prepared.
And Mr. Gannon, when you sell it, please let the buyer know that they need to be in contact with Mr. Carmen.
Yes.
to prevent it from being tore down and have them going, oh my goodness.
Yeah.
And if something does change, I'll let management know and then or send an email to you also, Commissioners, so.
Okay, I move to approve Resolution 277.
Close the hearing first.
Oh,
Yeah. If there's no other comments, we'll close the hearing at this time.
Now you go forward.
okay, I move to approve Resolution 2777 to give the property owner 120 days by law to repair or remove the structure at 201 East 14th Street.
Second.
We have a motion and a second for approval. Is there any further discussion?
None here.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. The ayes have it, 5-0.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good luck.
Next order of business is consideration of Flint Hills Regional Council Regional Services Memorandum of Understanding. Mr. Stiff.
Yes, good evening again. The purpose of this MOU is to establish a relationship between the Flint Hills Regional Council and the City of Junction City that would indicate that if you were in need of services that you thought we could provide, you would send us the request for providing those services. If we felt we had the expertise and the capacity to provide you with those services, we'd submit a proposal to you for providing those services. We feel like this is important for us to have this kind of relationship with our member jurisdictions, and several other jurisdictions have approved the MOU, and we would like to have it available so that the president of the Flint Hills Regional Council could sign this at their meeting on Friday. If you have any questions, I'd be glad to answer them.
And going through this is basically establishing the Flint Hills Regional Council as a vendor if we need something. So you're in our vendor Rolodex, basically.
Right. But we would like to think we're a special vendor because you're a member of our organization.
Yes.
And we get a little better rate as being a member.
Yes, yes. The rate for, basically, we have an hourly rate for the people that are on our staff, and we normally do a contract for services where we would estimate the number of hours, and then we put a cap on it, and we would do the work based on how much hours it actually took us to do it up to that cap, and we would complete the work that we'd agreed to do. So it's not open-ended on your part whenever you do a contract with us for providing these services.
Thank you.
I see the capability of grant administration and grant procurement, but I don't see a recommendation from staff.
This, I mean, I also no issues with it. I didn't see how I did this. This is my first one I've done.
Okay.
It was a situation where this is a normal situation. I've been involved in three other communities, where we had agreements with the Regional Planning Commission. They're all priced a little different, and again, this does not lock the city in. It says that we're going to look at them, and which we should, because with the membership you pay each year, I think it's good to create the relationship, and also realizing that if member cities use the regional planning organization, that helps the regional planning organization to stay viable and keep staff too. So it's a win-win both ways.
Okay.
Yes.
So my recommendation is yes.
Okay.
We do not have a staff grant writer.
Right.
And that's where I see
think so.
it down the road at being some assistance. You have some type of grant that coming down, particularly stuff that may deal with federal dollars, and I've already alluded to their expertise in that area, so they could eventually be a valuable resource to us. So that,
Gary, you will have staff that will be like, if we get a grant, be able to administer CDBG and be certified?
Yes, we do.
Okay, great.
We have one staff person that's already certified, and another one that's going to go next week to Topeka for a certification training.
Great. Good deal.
We do already have Susan Jaggerson, who's certified as for CDBG as well,
Okay.
so
Okay.
we have that capability too.
With that, I move to, excuse me, I move to approve the memorandum of understanding for contractual service with the Flint Hills Regional Council.
Second.
We have a motion and a second for approval. Is there any further discussion?
None here.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. The ayes have it, 5-0. Thank you, Gary.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I think I'm on the next item, too.
And the next item is consideration of support and approval for Fort Riley Joint Land Use Study, funding request from the U.S. Office of Economic Adjustment.
Yes, Fort Riley has already initiated the process of making a nomination to the Office of Economic Adjustment, which is part of DOD, for an updated or a new joint land use study. The last one was done in 2006, but Fort Riley staff, the garrison commander, feel that because of the growth that's occurred in the area and because of changes to Fort Riley's mission, that it would be good to have a new go at a joint land use study. If OEA agrees with that nomination, then they would turn to the surrounding communities, and the agreement has been to look to the Flint Hills Regional Council to be the administrator of that grant, and we would work with OEA to determine how much of a grant it would be needed in order to accomplish the work necessary to do a new joint land use study. OEA provides a 90-10 grant, so there's only 10% match. We've been told by the OEA representative that usually that match is provided by staff assistance as a part of the process of doing the work, and would not likely result in cash outlay. It would be shared jointly by all of the surrounding communities that participate, and so it'd be Raleigh County, Clay County, Geary County, Junction City, Ogden, Manhattan, Riley, Wakefield, all those communities would participate in this process. There was a clarification I thought I needed to make from the memo that was in your packet. The Flint Hills Regional Council doesn't have the resources that it can provide the staffing without any cost, so we would be requesting that administrative costs be included as a part of the grant, so that we would be able to have the resources then to do the administration of this grant. Are there any questions?
And so will the staffing part of that still, even with asking for that, will that staffing part still be the match?
Well, the Flint Hills Regional Council staff would not be match, but the participation of staff from the different jurisdictions would be match.
Okay.
Our part would be the match.
Right. And at 90-10, you're not going to get a grant that has a better leverage than that.
Especially with an in-kind match.
Yeah.
Take those every day. I'd move to approve the letter of support for the Fort Riley Joint Land Use Study.
A second.
We have a motion and a second for approval. Is there any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. The ayes have it, 5-0.
Thank you very much.
Next item will be consideration of a request for street closing for the Junction City Arts Council Car Show on October 3rd, 2015. Chief Brown.
Mayor, Commissioners, thank you for allowing me to come before you tonight. I'm here to request Junction City Arts Council, Stan Gond, event coordinator, has requested again this year to allow the blocking off of the 100 block of the half of the 100 block of West 7th, the entire 600 block of North Washington on October 18th, Saturday, between the hours of 8 and 3. This would be the second year for the event. I understand it was very successful last year, and the Commission did approve that last year, and so they wanted to get their request in early, so I'm bringing that before the Commission tonight for approval.
Chief, we didn't have any problems with it last year.
No, sir.
I think it was a good event. I actually saw my old car drive past.
Brought quite a few folks into it. A lot of nice cars.
Okay. We're having issues.
Any other questions?
None here. Give me a second to catch up. I just did that 3 times.
Do we have a motion?
Hang on a second. For some reason it died.
Yes.
He's got a written copy here, let him
Make
do
a
this.
motion to request for,
I just make a copy of that, because
okay.
For one thing.
Go ahead.
I died 4
I
times.
motion to approve the street closing for the Junction City Arts Council Car Show, October 3rd, 2015.
Second.
We have a motion and a second for approval. Is there any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. The ayes have it, 5-0.
Keep-
Mine.
I just wonder if we can maybe move up the approval of the computer stuff earlier on this agenda.
Since we're all dead right now.
Disappeared 3 times.
Uh-huh.
Excuse me.
And it came back to the same page.
Mhm.
Next will be consideration of request for street closing for Geary Community Hospital Chase for a Cause 5K run walk on May 2nd, 2015.
Mayor, Commissioners, bring forward you tonight a request from the Geary Community Hospital. This is a unique event that is being requested by them. It's called Chase for a Cause. It is going to be a 5K. Is going to promote healthy living initiatives by Geary Community Hospital. The event will help raise money for local causes, charities, and nonprofit organizations, and participants will choose which approved local cause or funds will go forward. They're anticipating 150 to 300 runners in this event, which will begin in the parking lot of Geary Community Hospital at approximately 9 o'clock. They will go north on St. Mary's Road to Eisenhower onto McFarland, hook a left on McFarland, go up to Caroline, go then south on Caroline, across Ash, continue on Caroline to St. Mary's, hook a left on St. Mary's, and go back down to the Geary Community parking lot where the run will end. The reason I say this is kind of unique because it would open a Pandora's box, if you will. And I told Nikki Davies is here, the marketing director and public relations from Geary Community Hospital, to talk to you a little bit about it. I did talk to Nikki about this, that the city had never approved anything like this before, in my opinion. We did approve a bicycle thing, if you guys remember, a few years back, but we had that in the clear on the back side of Olivia Farms. They're requesting 2 police officers, requesting barricades, and basically tying the streets up between approximately 9 o'clock and possibly 10:30 on a Saturday morning in May. And though a noble charity event, as I'm sure it's going to be, my concern is what's going to happen in the future when we have other charities come forward with a request for this type of event, for police officers, for barricades, for blocking streets off for 5,000 yards approximately, or 5K, and the city has to decide again whether they're going to do that. How often is this going to happen? That's why I think this is unique. It's a decision for you folks to make. Nikki has indicated that they would pay for the 2 police officers are requesting, and at the $30 an hour, which is the normal rate that we pay. My fear is that other charities would then at some point come forward and request similar accommodation, and this could get to be a real problem for us. I'm not going to lie to you. And Eisenhower Street on a Saturday morning, garage sale time, McFarland, Caroline, Ash. I mean, we've got, this is, and it's not that any place in the city would be troubling. You know, Will and I've told Nikki that we've got other places where we could do it, maybe South Park.
That's what I was
South
thinking.
Park's got a long track around it. But I don't think it gives them the exposure that they probably want. And I understand that. I truly do. And I'm in a unique situation about I try to do anything that the hospital requests because they're a very good partner to the city. But on the other hand, I also have to give you guys, the folks, the facts that I'd be really concerned about what's going to happen in the future when, like in the case I've talked to domestic violence folks. They have a thing in October where they'd like to do a 5K. There's going to be other charitable organizations out there. There's 1 million of them. And if they want to, then I'm going to have to bring it before you, and you're going to have to decide what to do. There is a cost associated, and Greg will be the first one to tell you, with putting barricades and cones out. But this is going to take at least an hour. I'd venture to say at least an hour, probably. And those streets, this is a moving target. And I've told her my reservations. I've talked to Mr. Dinkle and Cheryl about it. And ultimately, my recommendation was to disapprove it, but it was necessary, I believe, to bring it before you guys and fully inform you of what, and of course, Nick, get up here and have a chance to let you know what's their plan is, and I'll sit down for a minute and let her talk to you if that's okay. Mr. Mayor? Is that all right?
Fine.
Hi, Mr. Mayor, Commissioners, thanks for your time tonight. I think Chief pretty much nailed it all on the head of what we're planning on. I know that the route is a busy street. Both of them are very busy. We have talked about an alternate route as well, like including the South Park and St. Mary's Road. So that is something that we had discussed, especially with Walmart coming in. I know we'll have to reconsider that next year.
Are they run on the sidewalk or in the street?
It would be on the far lane. We would just close off one lane on the street, so.
And to close off the lanes, we're going to have to put cones down the middle of the street, and that's
We
a
would.
lot of cones. I didn't know if we even owned enough cones to effectively block off a lane of traffic for that distance.
For Eisenhower.
They don't do that for Sundown Salute when they do their run. I mean,
Yeah, we do
basically-
for Sundown Salute.
I mean, talking about cones down the middle of the street through the whole route, you don't do that.
No, but we don't cone down the middle of it.
Right. I thought that's what you were saying.
Yeah,
But yeah, they
that
don't
was
do
what
it,
I thought.
they just close that, whatever.
For
lane
Sundown
you're
Salute,
using.
you close the whole street, don't you? Don't?
Not for the
The run you
the
don't?
run.
Okay.
On the Sundown Salute, we close the north lane starting at 5th and Eisenhower, or 5th and Washington, all the way to 18th out K57, and it's the right lane, the right two lanes that are westbound at 18th Street, and then Jackson all the way into town from K57 after they turn around. But then again, that's an approved event. That's a contract that we have with them. The city has signed with Sundown Salute to supply that. So that's a yearly thing that we do, and we have a contract with them about that. Again, this is an anomaly. This is something different. That's why you guys have to make that decision.
I don't know if all of you were on the commission when that occurred, but when we were doing our financial crisis, the decision was made that we would no longer sponsor any event except for Sundown Salute. And that's how it came about, that we no longer do the Easter egg hunt or provide money to Arts Council and all of those thousands and thousands of dollars that we were giving to charities. The decision was made, Sundown Salute would be it. And so ever since then, we've always said, no, we don't sponsor any events. Anything that you do that you come to ask for, you have to pay for.
Let me ask a question, because I've run several hundred 10-kilometer races, and very few of them have ever seen the police at. I mean, I've run them all over. If we took the police out of it and they just did it, and the thing that you're looking for, if you reverse the route, once they could actually stay on the sidewalk, because once it thins out, if you reversed it and went sort of south and west on St. Mary's, by the time you came back around to Caroline, it'd be thinned out. Then you could actually stay on the sidewalk. And I've done those when I couldn't run as road guards, and I've stepped out with a vest or something on just to stop traffic while a runner came through, which is a matter of seconds. But I've been to very few where there were police at.
And
But if we take the police out and they just do it as a 10 or a 5-kilometer run, which goes extremely fast, they're like done in 45 minutes max.
And we can certainly reverse the route, and the only reason why we're requesting the police officers was just for the intersection parts. But we have a lot of volunteers that we will be recruiting that will be helping in blocking off those areas.
Because I saw that and I said, I can't run anymore, but I can sure walk.
It's a
to come
run
out.
walk. It's a run walk, so
It was perfect
we'll
for me.
hopefully see you there.
But I just don't, I think once you get into the
My
street,
question,
it gets...
Commissioner, again, I would, to Katie, whether, if we relinquish to those road guards, if you will, and some kind of an accident occurs, because it occurs on a city street that you guys gave permission for, does that make the city still liable?
I would be concerned about that.
Okay.
I would. And actually, this is just happens to be personal experience, but in my neighborhood in Leawood, Kansas, there was an event like that not too long ago where civilians were doing the intersections, and this was not nearly as busy as this, and it was really confusing, and I felt dangerous. This was a neighborhood where there aren't sidewalks, but it was completely a pretty quiet residential neighborhood, early morning run, and civilians were manning the intersections, and it was not a good situation at all.
Well, one of the things we require for any event like this is proof of insurance. $1 million policy if they're going to use the city streets or city sidewalks.
Yeah, I mean, part of the issue is the cost factor, so, to me, I suppose if people are willing to pay that cost that may be associated with the Public Works having to set up barriers, paying for law enforcement, I'm leaning towards, I'm fine with that. But I guess, for me, the question becomes, and we're always talking about wanting people to come into this community to see what we have, and, I mean, in an event of this type, I would assume would be bringing people, not in this region, but you get your hardcore running people, which, as long as I make car payments, I will not be, that will want to participate in things like that. And it's a way of opening up the community. But I understand your concerns, too. So I guess that's what, for me, part of the conversation is I guess, do we want to open up to have these type of events to bring more people to the community, to spend their dollars and see what our community is about and the friendliness of this community. And if they're willing to, if organizations that want to do this, if they're willing to pay the cost that is associated to having law enforcement and the signs put out and properly safetied, I think it's something that we need to strongly consider. So that's kind of my little debate that I'm having right now with myself.
And we would be paying for the fees and the cost for the police officers.
I have two thoughts. Well, several, but I think safety is a big issue here. And busy Saturday mornings around here in May when it finally gets nice, God, hope it happens soon. But these are some pretty major streets that you're looking to tie up. And I'm really uncomfortable with that. I would be fine with you taking South Park or Helen Park. Might be another thought. If you want a real challenge run,
Yeah, I know. I've been down that.
that might actually generate some business for the hospital, but it's a great place to run. I mean, it's a real challenge.
For our alternative route, we do have St. Mary's and including South Park. Do we need to come back and present that route to you guys for approval?
Well, I think you could start at the entrance to South Park, make 2 laps around the paved path, and finish at the end. I think you'd be pretty close to your 3 miles. Because each loop on the concrete part is a mile and a quarter.
Mm-hmm.
So that way, the park is yours, you've got it.
Does that still need approval?
Yes.
I think they need.
I would be more comfortable with that than any city streets. For your liability, everybody's safety, and a nice area.
Okay.
I don't know what the other guys think.
No,
Plus, there's
You need to
parking
go
there.
alternate.
I think it'd be a better alternative. And it's close to the hospital, too.
Right.
We did the hunt and hustle in the South Park, but we actually came out and ran on St. Mary's down to the Living Word Church towards that direction, and we came back. But we didn't have any police support. We didn't use any city facilities. We did it all on our own. That was for the 8th Judicial Court. But we went around South Park, went out, came back in, and finished up in South Park. But we had to leave the park to get it all in.
And there's 2 churches there, and they might be willing to allow you to use their parking, so you could start there right at the entrance. That might be another thought.
Right.
I don't know.
We're looking to start and finish at the hospital, and so that was kind of
Right.
the aim of everything. But okay.
That would be a less busy street than all the others that you mentioned.
Right.
So,
But with what you have here, I don't think it'll go today.
Right. Okay. Okay, we'll bring a different one back.
Thank you.
thank you.
Next item on the agenda is consideration of the sale of right-of-way to KDOT for improvements to an underground storm drain under Spring Valley Road as part of the K-18 and US 77 interchange improvement project. Mrs. Beatty?
Unfortunately, I attempted to get KDOT representative or the Jerry Kane here from Land Acquisition Incorporated, and they ended up with a conflict, so he apologizes for not being here. But we're supportive of the project because this is part of the improvements for K-18 and US 77, which under their engineering analysis needed shown that the underground storm drain pipe under Spring Valley Road needed to be upsized, and so that's what the project is. And so in order to do that, they needed to get some more right-of-way to make that all happen. And this is on our land. And to make it formal, they have offered $500 for that right-of-way, and we are recommending approval of that request for the additional right-of-way and are agreeable to the $500 price. Any questions I can attempt to answer?
Do they take care of that once they have that little area?
No, they're just offering to pay for the improvements
Okay.
as part of the, it's part of the total project, right? Correct. Yeah. It's part of the total project. And they had visited with our staff about it. But it's a project that needs to be done.
Exactly.
But it is part of the project, and they'll end up paying for it, and then afterwards we'll maintain it.
Okay. Do they pay us to maintain it?
No.
Okay. I was curious when they said they wanted to purchase this.
No, the purchase of the right-of-way is just part of the expansion of that.
Okay, I'm good.
Is it a right-of-way or an easement?
Easement, I mean, easement. I said right-of-way.
Oh, it says right away.
It does say right-of-way, doesn't it?
Yeah. 11,800
yes.
Has
square
a,
feet of right away.
so this will actually be a transfer of land then?
Yes.
Okay. It would be a purchase. So we wouldn't own it, or?
That's what I thought.
Yet we have to maintain it?
For cleaning it out, we would assume you would. After,
maintain it
yeah,
right now.
Yeah, we maintain it now.
If we sold it and they rebuild it, it's theirs, would we maintain it then? That's what the
That's the
question is.
question
If we sell it to them and they build a new
This
one,
is the land.
why would we maintain it?
Thank you.
We maintain that storm drainage area right now, Sutter Woods.
Mm-hmm.
That entire area or land is a storm drainage easement right now. It's got a stormwater detention facility and a series of pipes that go into it that we maintain now.
Do we
What
own
they're-
it now?
Pardon? We own that right now.
No,
But
we
what
own,
is-
we own the easement.
We own the easement.
Right-of-way.
Correct. Correct.
It
We
is-
own the storm facility in there
Right.
right now.
I would imagine the reason they're purchasing it as part of the project, because in the future, they have no idea that other part of that we're going to own is going to necessarily remain under our ownership or not. I mean, it could potentially be sold to somebody else. I doubt it, but it's their means of controlling to make sure that the expansion of the underground drain. Now, that's just my estimation. That's not a clear answer, but that's what I would assume. That's why they're doing that, so that the enlarged pipe and its flow area or outflow and the immediate outflow would be protected. They're very careful and cautious about when they do improvements for any storm drain project and its outflow because of people challenging them on it.
But if they own it, it is their property going forward, why would we maintain it? Why would we maintain an easement that we don't own? I guess, is that your question?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was mine.
I'm confused. If somebody owns it, somebody else owns it, why would we maintain it?
Well, we own Spring Valley Road, and this is a drain underneath it.
But they're not purchasing,
I'm not sure why.
this piece right here is
Yeah.
what they're purchasing, right?
Yeah.
This long Rhode Island piece.
About 11,000 foot, basically one lot.
So they're not purchasing underneath the road. I'm looking at this map right.
Well, the only thing that's not clear to me is they already own this, don't they?
No,
That's what it says here.
let me clarify what's going on construction-wise, and that might help. As part of this K-18 project, there is some additional work that needs to be done on Spring Valley Road, north of K-18.
We're good there.
One of those items that needs to be undertaken is the extension of that existing storm system. There's a culvert
Right.
that is under there, concrete culvert that is under there. And they're looking to extend that further to the west and add some additional riprap. I myself can't comment as far as are they purchasing this outright. I do know that they need the right to be, or they're requesting the right from the city to be able to secure that, to be able to extend it. Right now, that segment of Spring Valley Road, as far as in that vicinity,
Right here.
right here, I believe is the city's as far as that, and we maintain that storm system along that area. I can't say for certain, I've not myself specifically been involved in this, but I do know that that is the reasoning of what they had approached us early on, indicating that, you know what, we're going to need your permission to be able to get onto your property and extend as far as that pipe system.
That's different
That's
from
They
purchasing
sent it to me as a
property.
real estate warranty deed, though,
Mm-hmm.
which is confusing now.
And KDOT did the legal work on this as far as the
Yes.
legal description?
Yes.
If I'm looking at this right here, they're talking about west of Spring Valley.
Just a little bit, about half a mile from where your new house is being built.
Well, this is another big way north, yeah. On the west side of the road, approximately a quarter of an acre. We would still own the road, we would still, we own what we have now, other than that one little piece.
It was my understanding from him, the only reason they came for the ownership of it was because they were, as he said, enlarging or extending out the culvert drainage. And their legal thought it was necessary for them to have that easement.
But the question you guys can't answer is,
No.
why are we maintaining it? Or if we are going to maintain
We don't
it.
have,
Somebody else
Well, we
owns it.
maintain it now, it's our culvert.
I
They-
understand that, but
Yeah.
once we sell it, why are we going to maintain it?
Right. It's a legitimate question.
So we sell it to them, and then we have to, for our purposes, say,
problem is that you'd
Or they
have
just
ownership
buy
of some by the city and some by,
On that side
Yeah.
of the road.
I just
If I-
I think this is,
I'll
we're
read-
just buying right-of-ways
We
here.
will, as Mr. Kane says, if there's any questions tonight, he was fine with us just simply tabling it and to put it to the next agenda, one that he can attend, because it is confusing about what they're attempting to do.
I don't know why we couldn't give them easement rights for that area as opposed to
A
purchase.
construction easement.
So,
Is he?
Greg, weren't they just
Or are
purchasing
they
right-of-ways
buying
up
it
and
on the
down
side of the road
77
for
as part of their
protection?
projects
They-
anyway?
They
Well,
were.
That's really all this is, even though they're making an improvement.
And so
It
they're not
is.
really selling the
It is,
land
but
to us.
we own it currently.
We're
Let
buying
me-
it from us, they're just buying this side, so they can do whatever they want to
Right.
collect the water.
why would they buy it though, and then have us maintain it instead of just calling it an easement?
we own
Mayor?
all land.
Because if they buy it, somebody else can access to it. It can't wind up being
I think what we do is
owned by this lot,
But that lot will have to
Yeah.
maintain
They're
it.
asking for an easement rather than a warranty.
or else we will.
Right.
And, they may go in and they may build a concrete structure there.
We just need more information.
We need more information. We'll just, I'll recommend you table it, and we'll
Right.
have him come back.
Mhm.
And then let him clarify why an easement versus a warranty deed.
And also what they're gonna build there and who's gonna pay for maintaining it once it's built.
Well, I know that what they're building there is just enlarging the tube and extending it out. And their intent is that we can certainly maintain it. And the intent was we were going to continue to maintain it.
They pay for the improvement, we just take care of the maintenance once it's done.
Right. And
Right.
that's their intent on it.
How do we maintain something that's not our property?
years.
Forever.
Yeah.
That's my concern.
I make a motion, we table the issue.
Second.
I have a motion, a second to table.
Sure.
Any further discussion?
This?
There's one thing that I thought about too, the road to the landfill. I know that discussion came up almost 4 years ago, that we received funds to maintain that road. In other words, we go in and grade it once in a while. That's why I thought when I asked that question, is this going to fall into that same situation? It's in our area, it belongs to them, we maintain it, and they pay us a little fee to grade that road once or twice a year, I think. That was my initial question.
I don't think we get money from the state on Spring Valley Road, but I could be wrong.
Yeah, because there was a whole lot of discussion that came up, and he said that he knew we received money, but there were no houses down that portion of the road. And that's when it was under Viola, and they took me out, and I know Pat took his car out there and drove that road.
I'll double check that to make
Okay.
sure we don't have any.
Thank you.
on Spring Valley Road.
Across 70 from Walmart, when you come up 290,
On the south side of 70.
you just keep going, and there's a landfill over there.
Yeah, the old county landfill.
Yes.
Different location.
Yeah.
But you'll drive up to the gate?
Switch gears on.
We're across town.
Big time. Yeah.
Okay. So there's a
So
motion.
we have a motion and a second to table. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. The ayes have it, 5-0. Next item. Consideration and approval of an intergovernmental agreement between the Kansas Department of Transportation and the City K-18 Pathway Transportation Alternatives Project and Design Consultant Considerations.
Yes, Mayor and City Commission, I'm going to refer to you to the photo drawing that we included in your packet. It's on page 117 to walk you through briefly what all you're looking at here. As you recall, we submitted this in for a transportation alternative grant application last year. We were successful in being awarded one of those grants to the tune of $950,000 through KDOT. This, what you have before you, is the formal agreement for Part B of that project. We broke this project, as you recall, into 3 segments. Part A is a small segment that would be, if this project is approved here this evening, Part A is a small segment that would be designed and constructed as part of the Spring Valley K-18 intersection improvements that are scheduled to start this summer. In the next City Commission agenda, we'll be bringing before you an agreement that is, really we're terming it the US 77 project agreement, and it's going to include that portion where what we've been successful in doing is negotiating with KDOT, and the city's local share for that project would be $15,000. And if you were to look at page 116, so go back a page, you'll see that we included in your packet the preliminary estimates that we had put together when we first contemplated this project. You'll see that Part A had a total engineering and construction cost of $77,000. So we've seen or derived some savings in that sense. Part C is the piece that would be constructed from the piece that would stop as part of the Part A project, or call it Spring Valley Road K-18 project, and that we're terming it as really the US 77 K-18 bridge work portion. And we noted in the report to you that we thought originally, through our negotiations with KDOT, that we thought the engineering and the construction portion of that segment would be roughly around $300,000. If you again look at that estimate, it had the total cost of that of being around $915,000. And again, I'm referencing on page 116. Over on the far right upper part of those cost estimates, you'll see that $915,000 for Part C. What we learned Friday, though, is that KDOT has agreed that the city's local share, again, if we move forward with this portion, would be $115,000 for just the construction portion, and KDOT would be looking at completing the engineering as well as the construction engineering inspection. What you have here before you this evening is, I'm going to term it as Part B. That is the piece that is from Rucker Road going west to the eastern terminus of the US 77 K-18 project. Now, on page 116, we had an engineer's estimate that we had provided you back when we submitted in the grant, as well as we had indicated in the drawing that that piece of the project was roughly around 2,300 feet. What has occurred or changed since then is that they've added an additional 500 feet onto this segment so that we get all the way over to the US 77 segment. Am I making sense with that?
Yes.
So what you have here before you is a request to enter into an intergovernmental agreement with KDOT for this K-18 pathway, and their share would be $950,000. This is for the construction and the construction engineering, or really it's the inspection portion. If you go to The agreement, and if you go, see if I can reference you on the page that you would be looking at. If you were to go to the agreement, apologize, I should have flagged the page. But if you go to page 109, underneath item 19, where you deal with the financial obligations, and again, the agreement you're looking at is a standard KDOT agreement. We've worked with the city attorney to approve to form this agreement. But this outlines the financial obligation portion. The total portion of this Part B is $1,187,000. The city's local share of this project would be $237,000. The city's portion would come from our special highway funds. We've shared with you over the last couple of years a spreadsheet that shows we have this programmed in anticipation of this, of moving forward as far as with this project. The good news about this whole project, I guess I would like to say, is that we originally had an overall project cost of a little over $2 million. We had a city's combined local share of $657,000. Now what we're looking at is a new project that's being all three parts of roughly a little under $2.2 million, and the city's local share of being roughly around $496,000, and that's for all three parts, knowing that this Part B is really the lion portion of this project. What that means is, from the numbers we originally gave you, we're right now, and again, these are estimated numbers because they've not secured bids, nor have we designed it and secured bids, but we're looking at around a savings around $161,000 from what we gave you before. That's really good news on this project because we've been able to pare this project down further.
And you just found this out?
I just found this out on
We don't have
Friday.
that information here.
Right. I found this out on Friday around 5 o'clock. It's late Friday. I apologize not getting it to you sooner. As far as on these adjustments that you're seeing as far as on this, these other segments. We just received the agreement late Friday. I've not had a chance to review it since I got it late Friday, but I knew it was really good news in our sense of as we've been trying to work these projects in conjunction with the US 77 project. And in essence, what we're looking for with this project is we're looking at constructing a 10-foot wide concrete pathway along the north side of K-18 from Rucker Road all the way over to Spring Valley Road, and then it would connect over into the existing walkway that is over near the middle school. So what this would provide is basically a non-motorized link of the community in that vicinity. What the advantage that we're getting is a lot of the earthwork, the bridge work, majority of that bridge work for that pedway is going to be constructed and built by KDOT. In the city, we have the opportunity even for this Part C, when they get ready to do this bridge project, which is going to I believe their latest date is 2017, 2018. It's sort of been a moving, I don't want to say moving target, but they're trying to secure the right-of-way needs for the different projects. But when they do let this, they've already indicated to us that, we could surely apply for that Part C through another transportation alternative grant. We may be able to drive this down even further in getting an 80-20 match, okay, for that. So what you have before you this evening is a request of this intergovernmental agreement for just Part B. It is for the construction and the construction engineering portion. And should we enter into that, what they would be looking at then would be basically through as far as the construction portion, when we submit in as far as our pay request and we paid our contractor, we'd basically be requesting reimbursement as we go along in that project in an amount not to exceed $950,000. Now that's the first item that we have in this report that we're looking for the City Commission as far as consideration. I have a second item that I'd like to as far as cover after, I guess, you deliberate and discuss as far as this first item of this report. So with that, I'd try to answer any questions you may have.
Well, right off the bat, you said enough numbers, you have me confused. If the project is down under 600, why we approve 950,000?
No, the total,
Yeah, you have me totally confused.
okay, that's why we included page 116 in your packet.
And it says here, total city budget, 657,000.
Right. Our new budget now is around a little under $500,000 combined.
What would be nice is when these changes are made, even though they come at the last minute, we're working off of this computer. I generate my stuff at home so I can try to halfway understand. Then we get here and all the numbers start changing. I don't think it's so hard to ask that this kind of information be put on a piece of paper and handed out. We often do that, so you have the correct numbers, as opposed to your mindset is somewhere else, and then you get this stuff, and this happens way too much. And Mr. Dinkle, I hope that you'll be taking care of that kind of stuff in the future.
I'd rather table this than work on it.
Sure. I apologize. Let us redo those numbers for you then.
Greg, I had a question.
Greg, I had a quick question. Is this contract then different than the contract I reviewed?
No.
Not?
Wouldn't it have to be?
I thought you said something had changed, so.
No, nothing has changed on this contract from what you had reviewed.
Then what was the change?
The change that has occurred on the overall project, as we noted in the report, we indicated that we thought Part C was, the city's cost was going to be $300,000. What's changed in that is now our cost is going to be $115,000. And you are correct, Commissioner Aska, apologize for the numbers. I guess what I'd like to do is let us rework those estimates, maybe give you a revised spread table so it becomes a little bit more clear, so that you'll truly understand, I guess I want to say, what we deem is a substantial savings as far as just from hard work, we think, as far as in trying to negotiate with KDOT as they've facilitated their particular projects. I don't think we're on a serious deadline with this project. We surely want to get this thing moving if we could, because the intent is to build, should it be approved, is to build in 2015 this Part B portion. That's staff's intent. And we can surely bring it back to you at the next commission meeting.
That would be good.
If there is an update to the numbers after you submit your topic and item for the agenda on last Friday, if you got an update, just put it on our desk in front of us so we've got it when we come in commission meeting night and we can review it. So I think that's what everybody's getting at, because we're looking at something, you're saying different numbers, we don't have a clue what you're talking about.
Right. I got you. I apologize.
Greg, I had a question when I was reading through this. The design and consultant considerations.
That was the second part of the report, right? I can clarify, and maybe you might be able to give us that direction this evening and just share with you what our intent in that second part. We had worked with a consultant, BG Consultants, out of Manhattan to facilitate this grant. As you know, we did a rather unique public participation component of this, so we established a very good rapport with the stakeholders. The other things that we found as we went through this project this time around, because unfortunately we had not been approved on the two prior grant submittals, one that we had worked with another consultant on that we were not successful, and then this time around we had worked with BG Consultants, and what we had what they were requested to do was some preliminary engineering, be it topo along the north side of K-18, basically from Rucker Road to the eastern limits of the 77 project. Also knowing that they had completed the Rucker Road work, they've got some institutional knowledge with respects to called the geological aspect of that rock encroachment out in that vicinity near Helen Park. Given those items and that they had continuous dialogue with KDOT as they had worked as far as through these three phases of this project, we felt staff-wise that there likely is a potential savings to the city should we directly negotiate with them as far as on this project. You'll see in the estimate there was original engineer's estimate of roughly around $129,000 for the design cost. Our expectations are that that's going to be less than that now, based on the information we know. How much less than that, I can't really say, but I feel pretty comfortable saying to you that it is less. It will be less than that, and that's based on the conversations we've had with KDOT as we've worked through these phases. So, the second part of this was to request the city's commission approval for staff to work in negotiating a contract for the design work, bring that back before the city commission for your consideration and approval as far as to use them for this design work. Now, should you not want us to do that, we're more than amenable to going out for proposals, requesting those, reviewing those. There is some staff time involved in that, in getting the proposal put together, soliciting them, evaluating them. We surely could do that. We did not think in this case that there would be any savings to the city in getting those direct prices from other consultants, just because of the institutional knowledge we felt BG Consultant had on this project, because they had done some preliminary engineering work. And it primarily had to do with the cross-sections on the north side of K-18 from Rucker Road going west to 77. There's as you recall, there's obviously the rock encroachment, but then there's a deep ravine. They did some hydraulic evaluation of the large storm sewer that goes underneath K-18 as you go west of Rucker Road. So, I mean, they've done some preliminary work that, in our opinion, and when we had talked early on with KDOT staff that facilitate this grant, we didn't feel was a requirement, but they strongly suggested that we do that if we really wanted to be considered as an approval applicant for this. So we went, BG Consultant went through that exercise on our behalf. And that's why we were looking for that second item.
It stands to reason to me that if they have institutional knowledge, that's going to be reflected in their bid if we do go out to bids. So if they have knowledge that's going to make their bid less, then they're going to win the bid.
Right. We could go through that exercise. We were not recommending to go through it.
If we spend this kind of money, that we follow our purchasing practice and that we go through the process.
Sure. And that's why if we didn't have these reasonings.
Our taxpayers expect us to follow the procedures that we have set.
Sure.
On purchasing. We do way too many things, making variations and giving large sales to people on sole source bidders.
Sure.
We don't need it to become a daily business habit.
Sure. And
I would prefer that we go out to bid.
Okay. That's fine.
I would rather we go out for bid as opposed to sole sourcing $129,000 to Manhattan.
Sure. We're fine with that. And we'll follow that direction. And likewise be able to bring this back before you with some updated numbers in this table.
I'm sure we have firms in the area that have institutional knowledge, and all that will do is drive the price down if it's competitive. So
sure.
I think that's a good practice that we probably ought to employ.
Sure.
Okay.
We're fine with that. Thank you.
So do we need a motion to table this?
I think that's already didn't we already?
No, I just...
That was the other one.
Get them all confused. I make a motion to table it.
You want to just make a
Well,
motion to table it to the
or
next
do you-
meeting?
Or do you want solicitation for proposals for engineer work?
I think we're going to do both. I think we're going to do both.
Yeah.
Okay,
We'll
so
do
the
both.
motion is to table the
Mhm.
number part, but how about, because number part you can have next meeting, other than the engineer proposals.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to search.
Table and to seek bids for the engineering.
That's just direction for staff.
Right.
Okay, and I'm cool with it.
Bid part.
And again, I've reviewed the purchasing policies. Your past policies or your policies in professional services such as engineering, do you look for, has the policy been to go with the cheapest dollar or with the firm that fits the community, and I don't know what you've done, and I've seen both in different communities, and I have mixed emotions on both of them, I mean, you know. It's cheaper driving source,
Well, there's intangibles, and staff will present those
Okay.
tangibles and intangibles, and if there is a higher cost and there's justification for that,
Great.
then
Cool.
we consider that.
Good.
Yes, that is correct.
Might I recommend that, and we've done this to you before, and it's worked very well, is bring to you proposals that we base them on qualification-based selection, which is a nationally recognized process. And indeed, what we'll do is we'll include price as part of that factor. So therefore, we're not getting somebody just lowballing us a price. We truly want to make sure they're qualified to complete this project, because there is some geotechnical structural work that's going to need to be done as part of this project.
So does the motion stand, or do we?
Yeah, with the,
We're clear.
I think there was a motion from Commissioner Aska to table the first portion. That's what we're
table,
doing right now.
table of the whole,
Oh, okay.
the whole thing was what
And
I was
to
doing.
direct-
But
and to
then the
direct-
question was about giving staff
And to direct
direction.
staff.
To seek
Already-
professional proposals.
Professional proposals.
I think we're clear on what you're asking.
Second?
We have a motion and a second to table and direct staff to seek proposals.
Thanks for the direction.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. The ayes have it, 5-0.
I did have one question.
I'm sorry.
The grant that came with this proposal, did we lose that grant, the grant money, that 80/20 match?
No,
Okay, I'm good.
no.
Thank you.
And this is,
We,
this
sorry.
is not a safe route, is it?
No, it's not.
Okay, I didn't think-
No,
okay.
it's not. This is,
I
it used to
thought
be
it was.
called a transportation enhancement. It used to be called T21,
Yeah.
Iced Tea.
Iced tea.
It has a number of nomenclatures. They've changed it now where they call it transportation alternatives, so it's
No
TA.
wonder you're so good at confusing
Right.
us.
Right.
Next item will be consideration and approval of an agreement for the installation and maintenance of a driveway across city right-of-way at 1026 Grand Avenue for SBA 2012 TC assets.
Yes, Mayor and Commission, this item was before you almost a year ago, August 6th of 2013. Essentially, the only item that has changed here is that this outfit, we're going to abbreviate them as SBA, has reincorporated or incorporated into another name. You had approved previously this agreement, very similar in nature. The city attorney has worked with their legal counsel as far as on the language, as far as to form on this. Essentially, what they're looking to do is there is an existing road, I want to call it, it's not termed a right-of-way on the plat, it's not termed an easement, but it is called and I've included a copy of both the plat and the drawing description in your packet. It's essentially located off of Grant Avenue, and they refer to it as basically as a dedicated road. The piece that is off of Grant Avenue that abuts their property is presently paved, so there really is no need to pave that portion. What they're looking to do is use this piece as ingress-egress into their property as a driveway access, and then continue with a driveway access parallel to their property line going north to a cell tower that they've acquired. And so what they're looking to do is essentially have the right to use the city right-of-way for basically a driveway. And right now, if you were to go out there along Grand Avenue, there's a business out there that they park several vehicles, and I think I've seen some motorcycles along in that area of the vicinity of this. What we'd need to do is, and we did this a year ago, is contact that property owner and let them know that this is a dedicated road and that the individual behind them is looking to ingress-egress through this area to get access to their cell tower. And so that's what you've got before you as far as the request as far as this evening.
And the city owns the easement?
We own as far as the dedicated roadway, correct? Right.
And we
We
don't
do
have
no
any use-
maintenance on it right now,
Because
correct?
we have no use for it at the,
Right. It is paved, it's hard surfaced as far as that portion, so when they continue the balance of their driveway from that paved portion, they're looking to, they currently right now have a gravel two-track that goes back to their cell tower. And what they're doing is looking to formalize this so that they truly have as far as access for their driveway.
so they already have it gravelled then.
They have they've got and I call it a two-track because it's not an improved, hard, full 20-foot width gravel surface or paved surface. They're looking to be able to provide routine maintenance to their cell tower.
It's gravel road all the way back.
I didn't get out to look at it.
Right. And again, you saw this before over a year ago, because they had changed their corporation essentially, is why it's before you again.
Well, and also I will say in dealing with them, they've been fairly difficult to deal with, to be honest with you. They had asked for access to the right-of-way and the right to improve the right-of-way by kind of graveling what is the two-track road. And we, with very
We've gone
little-
back and forth with them for a better
with
part
very little
of 10 months.
discussion, we, in 2013, whoever we were dealing with then, it might have been a prior ownership of the company, we put together a very simple agreement that gave them that right. City approved it, sent it off to them, and it apparently never got recorded. And sometime later, many months, they contacted the city again, dealing with city staff, proposing a very different document. It was an easement, a utility right-of-way, all kinds of bells and whistles that weren't in the original agreement. And when it got to me, I said, okay, wait a minute. This is much broader and more complicated than what we gave you before. You know, why aren't you satisfied with what we gave you before, which was simply the right to improve and maintain, if they want to, the right-of-way? And I had back and forths with their counsel, who's in Florida, and, well, you know, we should have a utility easement because all utilities have the right to use the right-of-way. Well, that's through a completely different process, and it's apples and oranges. So I put him off, and said, I'm not going to approve any agreement that gives you a utility easement. So, you know, stop. And he finally stopped, and we're kind of back to the agreement we had before. He did indicate to me that, well, we might be coming and asking for utilities. And I said, well, that would be a completely different thing, and maybe you'll get it, maybe you won't. But, you know, we're willing to give you what we gave you in 2013. It's taken probably 6 months to get to that point, but that's what this agreement is. So this is really no more than we gave them in 2013, which was simply the right to
Use the right-of-way as a driveway.
use the right-of-way as a driveway, and to the extent they want to approve it, you know, improve it, put gravel or whatever at their expense, that's fine. We'll agree to that. So that's,
The alternative is they have to fly in by helicopter. So, we kind of where we need to be.
yeah.
Yeah.
Now, if they come back and want a utility easement, that's a different story.
Okay.
But we'll deal with that when and if they do.
Move to approve the installation and maintenance agreement to SBA 2012 TC assets as presented.
Second.
We have a motion and a second for approval. Is there any further discussion?
None here.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. The ayes have it, 5-0.
Thank you.
Next item is consideration of approval to purchase a Palo Alto A3020 network security appliance in the amount of $22,215.32. Mr. Gurman.
Will that make this work?
I believe the only thing that will make that work effectively, Commissioner Aska, is a new user.
And he's working on that.
Mr. Mayor, Commission, I come before you tonight to request permission to purchase a firewall, what they call a network security appliance, for $22,000. $215.22. I don't know how in-depth you want me to go.
Because
Because our current firewalls, we have 2 of them in place. Neither one of them are capable of proactive reaction to new security threats on the internet. Right now, if, let's say, I get an email from the Kansas Security Commission saying that this is a vulnerability, we have to go out and research the vulnerability, and then we have to manually input that into our firewalls to make them work correctly and to protect our data from that threat, which is, 1, time-consuming, and 2, hopefully you get it done in time before the threat comes. This new system that we're going to get is updated automatically. If you look at the bid there is a thing in there called Wildfire, and what that does is they review all of our incoming traffic as a company, Palo Alto, and if they see anything suspicious, they capture it, their techs start working on it, and they go, hey, this is a new threat that nobody knows about. And then they send the information to all of their customers, and it's not just ours, but all of their customers who have Wildfire. So if somebody hits, let's say Central National Bank, for example, with something, and they have Wildfire, their techs get it, come up with a solution to it, and then push it back to our box automatically. Saves us a lot of time and effort, if that makes sense.
I have a question.
Actually, it kind of does.
And I didn't even need a picture.
Then I apologize.
Is there a maintenance, ongoing maintenance agreement on after you buy this? And
Yes, if you look at the purchase agreement, there is one, there's one line item that says threat prevention for $2,600. That is an annual maintenance, and they pay their techs to upgrade all of that. And then the other line item, the $2,600, which is not a requirement, it's just nice to have, is where they actually review our data and come in. But that would also be an annual. And then there's the $2,160, the annual premium maintenance. That is what we pay them to, 1, help maintain our box, but 2, if it were to fail, they would overnight us a replacement as part of that warranty.
So it's $7,400 per year for maintenance?
Yes. Which we've got covered this year, but it would be an item that we would have to budget for 2016.
How long do these units last?
This unit right here will probably last anywhere between 5 and 10 years. It just depends upon how the technology changes between now and then. If you look, the current firewall that it's replacing, one of them was in 1999 and the other one was 2005. That's why we have to do everything manually to it. So I'd say we got our money's worth out of those. I wasn't here in '99. I don't know what they paid for it, but I know we got our money's worth out of it.
Mr. Green, I have a
Yes, sir.
question, and then I'll ask you on the non-side. Once you have one firewall in place and then a second firewall, don't those 2 fight against each other? Because aren't we also getting firewall protection through our Cox internet server?
No.
I thought we were. As a business
No.
system, we don't get anything.
The Cox business feed, our fiber connection with Cox is just a connection. They don't do anything. They help us if, we discover an issue. They help us track the issue down, but they don't provide any kind of support like that. They do at home. If you have Cox and you have Cox email, they provide Viper, or not Viper. Virus, yes. McAfee is what I believe they provide for that.
And cloud storage. So on the business side, they don't provide that stuff
No.
then? Okay.
They could, but we pay for it.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so this Palo Alto firewall that we're going to use, is their firewall strictly not 2 systems competing with each other?
No.
Okay.
And our 2 firewalls don't currently compete with each other because of the way we have them programmed.
All right.
We have 16 external IP addresses. One's on one firewall.
Okay.
And on the other one, so.
All right, thank you much.
Yeah, it's all programming.
Okay.
This pains me to do this, but just for you, Jim. I move to approve the Palo Alto PA 3020 security appliance and support threat prevention subscription at a cost of $22,215.32, just to make your life a whole lot easier.
And I appreciate it.
Second. It equally pains me, I'll second it. There we go.
We have a motion and a second for approval. Is there any further discussion?
None here.
How did you arrive at this system?
What we did, we started in August of last year, and we contacted different vendors, Sonic Wall, Cisco, and we looked at their systems, and we got with their reps, and we asked them questions. Hey, we want to be able to, this has 16 different connections. Hey, we want to be able to assign specific addresses to this one and block traffic from this one to that one. Is it possible on this device? And then, of course, we had to make sure that it was capable of meeting the HIPAA requirements because of the fire department, the ambulance service, and then because of the police department and the sheriff, we had to make sure that it met the KCGIS and FBI standards. This is the only system that did everything we wanted.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
And even our insurance company requires certain standards now for firewall protection.
I always keep forgetting that the police department is connected in with the whole KCGIS things and having to,
yes,
those requirements didn't have to be met.
Any further discussion?
None here.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. The ayes have it, 5-0. Thank you, Mr. Gerber.
Thank you, gentlemen. Commissioner Aska, Commissioner McAllister, I'm feeling the love. Thank you.
You're not feeling any from me.
Next machine's gone off 4 times since we've been here, and I've had to restart it.
Gentlemen, next item is consideration of change order for the 701 North Jefferson project.
Mayor and Commissioners, if you recall at our meeting on the 6th of January of this year, we had discussed a delay in the project of approximately 110 days. After the meeting, we did receive a request for change order from Cheney Construction in the amount of 110 days. To understand a little better about what occurred, we had 2 subcontractors. One was the building system provider, the metal building provider, and the other was a structural engineer. Now, a process that should have taken probably approximately 30 days ended up taking 60 days, and as a result, that additional time put the building for 701 North Jefferson later in the manufacturing queue, and so other projects got in ahead, and that's why it's 110 days. You know, the additional 30 days really cost quite a bit there. Approval or denial of the change order is, in my opinion, not going to change the final completion date of the project. One thing that did come up when considering this change is that it might tie the city's hands if it were approved for the 110 days. There would be a lack of ability potentially to collect damages in the event there are additional costs. Right now there are not additional costs, and we don't plan on there being any because the project's going to come in on budget. So, but in the event, you wouldn't be able to collect those if the time was changed. Besides this delay, I just want to say it's been really great working with Mr. McMillan and Mr. Cheney on the project. We just had some recent meetings and they went well. The project's coming together well. So if there's any questions that I can help answer, Mr. Cheney and Mr. McMillan are also here. The city staff's recommendation is to deny the request for 110 days and leave the city with the option at a later date to, when you have more information, to make an informed decision on potential costs in the future.
If there's any further delays.
If there is any further,
Right.
if there's any cost as a result of the delay in the future. If we change the date, I've been informed that we wouldn't be able to recover those. So that's why our recommendation is to deny the request at this time.
So even with the delay of the metal work, they're still going to finish within the...
So the project was originally scheduled to be completed on March 31st. Because of the delay, it's now, I believe, July 19th is the proposed completion date. If we approve the change order, it's going to get done around July 19th. If we deny it, it's probably going to get done around July 19th. This decision's not going to speed or slow the process of the completion of the building, is my understanding.
'Cause I think our concern would be, I mean, if it's not related to the metal work, then we should have a fallback. Right. And will we be able to determine that at some point? Like, you know, if it goes longer than, and you guys have concern, we'll be able to, at that point, for sure know that it was because of the metal work versus a new problem? It's, do you get where I'm going with that?
I do. Yeah, I think you would.
To differentiate what was the actual...
Something that runs through my mind is, would this delay have happened if, at the time of submittal of the bid, you had a vendor for your metal building picked out and selected at that time? But because, if I remember right, at the time of the bid, that was one reason that we considered not letting the bid to you, was because you had not secured a vendor. You didn't know who you were buying your metal building from at the time. And if you would have known who the vendor was, then it would have been easier to get the structural steel guy and your vendor together to where we wouldn't have had this problem of that developed. Thank you.
It's just kind of answer your question about not having a vendor at the time of bid. I do that quite often with sometimes you just don't have numbers. In my experience, I kind of know where the numbers are going to be, so rather than pass bidding on the project, I put in there what I believe is an educated guess on getting for that. So that's what I did this time. But just as soon as I was low, I was right on top of it, and I had a vendor before I was ever awarded the project. You know, while you guys were talking about awarding the project, I secured a vendor right away, and I put them under contract right away. And so, to answer your question, did I lose any time? I don't believe I did. Well, that's just, I don't believe I did. So, it's just, metal buildings by nature are difficult to tie down. To get through the process we're talking about, it's a hard process. And so.
Did you secure the vendor with knowing when their completion date would be?
Yes, I did.
So you knew it would be late?
No, I secured it with the date and the schedule I had that I presented at the beginning of the project. It was all going to work. I was going to get the job done on time.
So they pushed it back in their building queue after you had lined it up with them?
Until you get completely through all the questions answered, T's crossed, I's dotted, they will not put it in their queue. No matter how much you try and go over people's heads and all that, it just doesn't happen. And it's not just this manufacturer. I've dealt with other manufacturers, and they're the same way. Very frustrating, but that's just part of that. But I knew that was my critical thing, and I got on it right away as soon as I got it.
Mayor, I'd like to make a comment here, a disclosure. When this issue came up, when this contract first came up, I was not asked to review it, and your architect had used an AIA contract standard form, so I didn't review it. The contract itself, at the time it was approved. When this issue of a request for a change order came up, you might recall at the January 6th meeting, and I mentioned that if you approve a change order, then you will be waiving the liquidated damages provision up through the change order date. Went back to my office since I thought, you know, I might be consulted more about it, because I didn't know that item was on the agenda till that night, and did a conflict check, and it turns out that I don't even know if you're aware of this, but Lathrop Engage does represent Cheney Construction on a completely unrelated matter, which creates a conflict of interest for me to advise on this contract. I had generally made, you know, some comments to Tyler and to you, but beyond that, I have to recuse myself from from legal advice on this matter.
Mr. Commissioner, Mayor, and Mr. Mayor, and Commissioners, excuse me, new form of government for me, or at least this time. One of my reasons for recommend, and of course I was not here from the first part, as you know, I think the night you made a decision, you had two variables. Actually more than that, but you had two variables. One was days, one was price. And I don't know what all went through your mind. My only concern of extending at this point in time is, one, does it take the city out of any position in case something turns south? And then secondly, what are we sending to future bid projects if we can turn 150 into 260, whatever days we're here? You know, so the next time we do another project, be a street or be it a curb and gutter or whatever it is, can we, you know, we turn a 400 to a 600? You know, I mean, in other words, I'm assuming when the bid was made, that was his estimate of days, and he made that willingly, not upon duress from the city, in my mind. And that's my concern. It's not so much about this project, it's setting precedent for future projects. Because, you know, you, like I said, you were given, I mean, there's also quality of work and stuff like that you may have looked at, but you had the two big variables right there, and the two numbers that were given to you that night. And my concern would be is if you move, you know, just willingly, and you know, we may be in a situation where there's no blood, no foul. I mean, if it gets done, there's no additional costs. I'm not sure why the city might, you know, have to, would we even want to go after any kind of damages? But what if there is? And that's my concern. And again, it's precedent for the future as well in any project. If a contractor says 400 days, and so be it. And, you know, I'm assuming contracts, most contracts I've ever seen have rain and snow and ice and all those other good things in there. But, and those are always allowable. But you know, that's where I stand, at least when staff talked about it. That was my standing on it. Has nothing to do, because like I said, I wasn't here for the bid part and everything else. But mine's more about future precedents that the city is setting tonight.
Well, my experience with contracts over the course of the last 35 years is that you don't really negotiate liquidated damages until you get to the end of the project. And then at the end of the project, justification is made for those liquidated damages, whether it's days or material or whatever. And then that's negotiated at that time. This seems to be a little premature to me to add 110 days without knowing where the project's going to be in 6 months.
We're just trying to put it all out there so everybody knew where the project was, and I understand.
Okay.
Bruce?
Evening, Mr. Mayor, Commissioners. Thank you. Just as a side note to Commissioner McAllister's comment, it is not uncalled for at times when there are certain issues that, at least in my experience, that if we see that there are cause issues to present a change order for a time extension. You're absolutely right, though, Mr. Dinkle, that typically most of these situations arise out of weather days or other circumstances that are somewhat out of the control of the contractor or out of the owner's ability as far as that's concerned as well. So this particular situation arose simply because of a series of shop drawing returns to the vendor. There were 4 returns back to the vendor by our structural engineer that asked for more information, more complete information, and so forth. We did get all of that, but as Ron said, or as Tyler said, that 3 or 4 week time frame elongated into at least 60 days. The process for the shop drawing submittal started in October, and by, I believe, around December, we finally got approval through our structural engineering consultant for approval on the building structural components. So that is what got to it as well. So, thank you.
I'd make a motion to deny the request.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to deny the request. Is there any further discussion? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Same sign if you're opposed. The ayes have it, 5-0. Next item will be consideration of R 2778 in opposition to Senate Bill 171, making municipal elections partisan and moving them to the fall of even-numbered years.
Mr. Mayor, Commissioners, can I just say something there?
Yes.
Okay, thanks. This has been as I mentioned in the last couple of meetings, a push by the legislature, or at least some interest in the legislature this year, and Senate Bill 171 is the first one that's come out. There's been discussion on the House side. I have not seen anything develop yet in taking city, and this is not includes, this is city, this is school district, community college, hospital boards that are elected, probably a water district or two throughout the state that's elected, normally in the spring, and we in the city of Junction City have our elections in the spring of odd number years. However, there are cities across the state of Kansas, and I've been in 2 of them, that elect every year. Whatever works for the city is done. This is pushes one to move in the fall. This bill specifically is in the fall of even number years, so it'd be at the same time as your state and federal elections. A concern amongst cities and schools and everything else is then our part of the ballot that affects the city of Junction City directly is down here. And so you have that. And that's a big concern. Making them partisan, one, I've always said this before, there's not a Republican or a Democrat way to fix a pothole. There is not a Republican or Democrat way to do city stuff. It is, city government, in my mind, is the form of government that's closest to the people. And when you guys screw up, one of 2 things happen. You don't get elected next time, or you hear about it at church or the grocery store or everything else. And so I think, we have the closest, and and this form of government responds to people better than anything else. The other piece is the push by the Secretary of State to make it available to do party balloting. In other words, you walk in there and go R, and all the R candidates get a vote, or D, all that. Well, if you are whatever party you would be, if you were to run partisan, I mean, how is that affected? Because we may be real adamant about this, and this on the ballot, the state, the federal, and the county, or even the regional stuff, and then you have the city. I think the other argument to not move it to the fall is the fact that right now, and I think Junction City is a perfect case right now, in the next 50-some days, or how many days it is to election, you will have a discussion amongst the community through forums to really discuss the wants and the needs of the people in this community, and then they in turn will have an election that they can weigh in on. What city officials and people like me are concerned about, if you move it to the fall, and it's the same time as the presidential or the gubernatorial, imagine having the city election last fall during what we had was a hot governor's race and a hot Senate race. And, even for the first district, a fairly interesting first congressman race. The city issues would have been by, and like I said, we have the purest thing right now. For the next 50, 60 days, we're going to have the discussion, the debates amongst candidates, and the people really will focus in on the city. I believe this bill is being thrown, the school districts are probably the one that are more targeted than cities are, or collateral damage, I think. But this resolution is one that's prepared by the league. Many other cities are doing it. One, it does 2 things. We'll pass it on to, at the proper time, we'll send it to the league, of course, and to other places. But it also, in case there ever a chance where it gives me the ability, the owner, Cheryl, or anybody else, the ability to represent the city on the behalf of the city in opposition thereof.
Totally agree.
I agree.
100%.
And I think most of our representatives are, based on conversation with them, they are in agreement as well.
I think you're right, but I'm really concerned about the Senate. I mean, the whole Senate as a whole. I mean, when you get a majority well, first of all, it's a Republican majority, but also a majority of the far conservatives. And I'm not opposed to being conservative. It's just a matter of,
When you get a big party together and they all vote one way, it doesn't really matter what we feel. So I would urge the citizens of Junction City to stay in tune with their senator and their senators and congressmen to voice your opinion and keep it local, keep it city, and keep it close to the people. So please, if you feel that way, please urge your representatives to do the same.
I move to adopt Resolution R 2778, supporting opposition to Senate Bill 171.
Second.
We have a motion and a second for approval. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. The ayes have it, 5-0. Next on the item is an executive session to discuss issues of attorney-client privilege.
City Attorney and I suggest 15 minutes.
Four. Yes, and to include city manager, assistant city manager, and myself.
Okay. So I would accept.
So moved.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
Did you have the purpose of
He said
Yeah.
attorney-client privilege.
Attorney-client privilege.
Okay.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
We'll be back in 15 minutes. We're back from executive session.
And no decisions are made and no actions were taken.
And we're back in regular session. Next will be commissioner comments. Commissioner Sands.
Three brief ones. Elections for normal procedures are coming up right now. Upcoming elections require registered voters to get out and vote. We just ask that you make sure that you're a registered voter, take an interest in the city, and come out and vote for the best candidate that will represent you and the people of this city. My second thing, I'm not comfortable with the sewer problems we're having, because for a good part of this, since I've been on the commission, I keep hearing the different things, and I can only imagine what would take place in my basement if my basement flooded. We have to do, I want to, instead of us warding it off, I want to be part of the solution. And I think somehow or another, either by education, through showing, through helping, through something, we can't just walk away. These are residents, these are people that pay for things in our city, and we need to be able to educate them. If this happens, this is what you're going to have to do. Not a one-time thing, but it's got to be continuous. It's like our street maintenance, but I'm not comfortable with that yet. Now, I don't know what it's going to take, but I'm not comfortable with that. The last thing I want to do is I want to thank everyone for coming out to the community listening session. That was an excellent event. It turned out so much better than I could even possibly imagine. To see the camaraderie from all over the state of Kansas, folks that came in, and I'm not going to take everyone else's steam there, but I just want to thank everyone that came out, the hot dogs, just the show of love for our community and for Riley. Mr. Mayor, that's all I have. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Commissioner McAllister, are you brief too?
Yeah, I'm pretty brief too. Jim hit the highlights, and I'm sure it'll go around. What the community did at the listening session, they hit a home run. We couldn't have done more than what we did to show our support for our friends at Fort Riley. But keep it in mind, we're going to have to do that again. This is not over. We have to continue that vigilance, and we'll have to show our stripes again. So thanks for everything that everybody did, and I wanted to especially thank city and staff.
Yes.
For what they did, the work that they put in. They may have been on duty there, but the fire department, police department, public works, city staff management was on point, very much on point. I was highly impressed with the teamwork that went on, and I just want to say thank you very much for all the work that was done. Everybody did an exemplary job.
Thank you.
The only, and you covered the sewer thing. The only other thing that I wanted to say was, please keep in mind when we're doing requests for proposals that we have a lot of folks out there that are making competition better, and so please get the best price. Put that information out. Let those folks bid on our projects and keep our costs down. That's the main thing. We want to make sure that our citizens are getting every bang for the buck that they possibly can. And I know our staff does a very good job working day in and day out with vendors that are not only local, but vendors that are in the area or even out of state. We've seen some of those. So keep that competition up, and I appreciate what you do. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Commissioner Haskell.
I echo Commissioners McAllister and Sands' remarks in reference to the listening session, so I won't beat that. Other than that, I have nothing.
Thank you, sir. Commissioner Landis.
Echo on the city staff's great job that they did for the Fort Riley listening session. I don't think it could have gone better. I really don't. The community support, working with Manhattan and other communities to make sure that this went well. This was not a sole source event for just Junction City. This is for everybody in the area. And the leadership and cooperation that you guys put on display was outstanding, and we really appreciate it. You gonna talk about land bank?
I'll let you.
No.
Please go ahead.
Okay. This afternoon, Mayor and Assistant City Manager provided testimony for the State House regarding our bill regarding the land bank regulation that we're trying to get changed regarding allowing people to re-advertise their specials for a longer time. They've already done it at the Senate. They did that last week, went really well, very well received today at the State House. So we're expecting this to move forward out of committee to the floor here pretty soon, and hopefully we'll have a good showing. We didn't really have any real opposition at all, just a slight clarification and some wording, but it was really no big deal. So Mayor and Cheryl did a great job. Last thing, there will be a City Commission candidate forum and also School Board candidate forum March 16th, this next month. And I believe it's at the Opera House, right?
Yes.
So just mark your calendars and come on down. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. I've got to echo everything that was said about the listening session. Our team did an amazing job. Working with other communities was good. Something that impressed me was the high school, the ROTC cadets.
Oh, yes.
There were 80 out of 270 cadets there, and their top cadet, what do they call him?
Even battalion commander.
Yeah, battalion commander. That kid stepped up to a microphone and gave a speech that was probably 7 or 8 minutes long. No notes. Talked very eloquent, talked very well. And the General Coutier and his team sitting up there on the dais, you could see it in their faces how proud they were of that young man. And it showed them what kind of an education those ROTC cadets are getting here at 475. that ROTC program, that's all about creating officers for the next generation of the military. And they were very impressed, with all the kids, with all the work they did there. I walked into the fire department this afternoon, and there's one of the ROTC cadets in uniform down at the fire station, just shadowing to learn about what goes on in a firehouse. A good bunch of kids. So, the community came together on the listening session, and as was said earlier, there's nothing that we could have done to make it any better. There's nothing looking back on it that makes you go, oh shucks, why did we do it that way? I don't know that we could have changed anything and made it any better. The land bank stuff went well today. I think that that's going to move forward, and that hopefully we will be able to re-amortize those and make it a little easier for potential buyers. So, City Manager, Mr. Dinkle, it is your job.
Thank you. I am going to say one thing real quick about listening to her is everybody saw the numbers, but I'm proud of the way my city staff operated from a police standpoint and safety standpoint, police and fire. I don't think we could have been we had taken precautions. We had staff in place. Chief Brown did a super job that, we had 2 United States senators, we had 3 representatives, we had a governor here. And we were as totally prepared, not that anything happened here, not that we thought it would, but we were ready. And Chief Brown and all the other safety employees were there. We were just, we had ambulance people there in case somebody would have had any issues. We just were rock solid. And that's not everything the people see, and I want to praise. And of course, everybody in the staff, Cheryl and everybody else, just coordination was good. One of the things in my first, 5 or 6 weeks I've been here now is just catching up with speed, I appreciate the fact that maybe when I interviewed, when you asked me when I had any questions, I should have said, tell me what's all been happening. And that's been the thing, is just trying to understand why we do what we do and how we can change that and be more efficient and better than that. Because, recommendations are going to come from me at times and how we can move things along, change differently. But I want to grasp everything and do that first. Deals or promises that were made in the past, or way city staff going back 10 years handled the utility issue and how things were done. We got to get consistent on this. We have the sewer discussion right now, and one thing I do want to say is, as I have visited with the gentleman who was here earlier, here tonight and spoke before, is I think I have to be very careful through this stage until the insurance does it. Exactly. One, I don't think the city, and have been through this 26 years now in city government, is be in a situation where, the reason why we have insurance is for that reason, to cover the city itself. I do not want to be in a position where I go ahead and, not that we won't do our due diligence, we are going to, trust me, but to admit or show any liability this time until all the facts are revealed.
I understand that.
And that's why we're doing what we do. Seems slow and painful at times. I agree with that. But I also think it's the best way to protect the assets of the city, and that's one of my jobs I feel I need to do. The other thing is we need to go to Topeka more often, because getting David Year out in a tie, I've known David off and on for probably 15 years now. I've seen him twice in a month now. We just got to go to Topeka more often. He has more than one tie, so I'm very, very happy. Thank you very much.
I thought I was going to have to check my obituary.
Mrs. Logan.
I don't have anything. Thank you.
Mrs. Beatty. Tyler.
Anything this evening?
Chief. Greg.
No, Mayor, thank you.
Chief.
No, sir.
David. Mr. Gurman. You have money.
Yes, and I would like to thank you for it. But other than I have nothing, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
Move to adjourn.
Second.
Let's go home.